Hi, this is Tom Burden here for West Marine, and today I'm talking with Hanne Weaver. Hanne is an aspiring Olympian, and she's one of the breakout young stars in the laser class here in this country. She started out in 2012 by winning a major U.S. sailing single-handed national championship. So she's one of our top rising stars in the class. So Hanne, we're here to talk to you a little bit about laser sailing and maybe learn some things from you about preparation, training, and the other kinds of things you need to know to be a successful Olympian and to be a successful international competitor. So let's talk a little bit about boat prep and the kinds of things you do to get your laser ready for a big regatta or just in general to take care of your boat.
So what I do is I always make sure that all my lines are good. I don't want fraying in them. If I see fraying, I always replace the line right away. It just is less of a hassle for me to worry about that line breaking on the race course. I've had a couple lines break on the race course and they do cause a bit of a hassle to race again. So I always make sure all my lines are in good condition. I always make sure that I have everything before I go to a regatta, like my battens, my line, everything is all in a bag ready to go. I also make sure that when I do set up my boat, all my spars are in good condition to make sure that there's no cracks anywhere or any corrosion. Make sure everything is straight and all my blades are in good condition. I just keep everything in the top right condition because if something fails, I don't want it failing out on the race course. I'd rather have it fail on land where I can fix it right away than to have it fail on the race course.
When you're going to a race and you're getting ready to start, what are the kinds of thoughts that you have in the 5 minutes or so before the start of the first race in terms of strategy, tactics, where you're going to start on the line, things like that?
Well, I always set my watch to, if we have a 5-minute start, I always set it to 4:59. So then I'm always on the dot for the starting. And then I sail upwind on starboard for about a minute. And then I do a tack over onto port, and then I stand up and I look at the breeze and I see if it's going to be port side favored or the starboard side favored of the line, see what phase the wind is in, all that kind of information. And then I go downwind and I check the line to see where it is in the start and make sure everything is good on my boat, make sure that everything is in order. And then I start prepping for where I'm going to start in the line and how I'm going to compete against the other racers.
Do you try to go for the best start at the pin or at the boat, or do you try to go more often for a conservative start more in the middle of the line?
It depends on where I am in the regatta. If it's the very beginning of the race, you want to make sure the other competitors know that you're a good sailor and you don't want to be messed with. But it also depends on what side it is favored. If the pin is more favored or if the boat's more favored, you also don't want to go out with a huge thing at the beginning of the first race because you don't want to get an over early and that would be your first score. So you want to kind of keep it conservative, but also you don't want to conserve too much because you want to get a good start and you want to get a good score.
What happens, say, if you don't get a good start? Say something goes wrong at the beginning of a race. What do you do to keep yourself on track and to get back into the zone so you can keep doing well?
I always look for clean air. It's my top priority. If I have a bad start, I always go out and get clean air. I also look to see where I should be going, if I should be going to the right or to the left. If I should be going more towards the right, then I should tack away and get clean air, then go up that side. And you always want to keep a good preparation on where you're going to go and how you're going to get there the fastest. And if you don't get a good start, you're not going to lose that race. You always want to keep the mental state of, I can still win, there's still an opportunity for me to get a top score. You never want to just shut that out because you get a bad race.
Sailing in a laser can be really excruciating sometimes if you've been on a really long beat and it's blowing really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to just keep hiking. What do you do to keep yourself motivated and to kind of take your mind away from how much it hurts?
When I do my preparation, when I'm listening to my music, I get one song stuck in my head, so I'm upwind and I'm mentally singing that song to just keep me going. It's also just you bite the pain and you keep going. The more you sail, the higher pain tolerance you have, and so when you're hiking, your legs go, it hurts, stop, and you just kind of go, you know what, you can deal with it, you're not going to break off. And so you just keep going, and you think of something else, you think of the water, or the wind, or the sail, or you think of, oh, when I win, I get that huge horn, so I might as well just go through the pain, and so I can get that horn.
You can get the gun. That's
Exactly.
really an important feeling when you win the race, absolutely. So you're coming up to the weather mark, and you're thinking about what you're going to do then. What do you think about in terms of like which side of the course you're going to play on the first downwind leg or approaching the mark? What are some of the thoughts that go into that?
It's kind of hard to say because it's kind of body memory, but I normally look at the phase of the wind to see what side, and I also, when I do my preparation before the start, I make sure to see what side of the course where the waves are going and which jibe is better to be on. You always want to do this before you are actually in the race, so when you do race, it's all easy going and simple, but it really depends on where you're going to go.
So when you're sailing the boat down the course, you use a technique where you sail sort of S-turns to work waves in the laser. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So S-turning, you normally do it when there's lots of waves. It's hard to do it when it's flat water. With S-turning, it's kind of like doing upwind with the torquing. You want to get over the waves. The fastest way to get downwind is to surf them, and you want to skip over them. So for S-turning, it's all about body weight. Body weight, it helps you turn. And the way I do it is I don't really use my tiller all that much. I kind of keep it flat, but I keep a hold of it. But I use my body weight, so I lean towards the sail to turn up, and you lean out to turn down. So when I start my S-turning, I'm by the lee, and I use my body weight to turn up the wave, leaning in, and then I get a good enough wave. And once I start skipping on it, I keep going until I feel the need to turn back down. It's not like quick turns. It's kind of like you have to read the water to know when to turn up and when to turn down. It's not something that you just go 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up, stuff like that. You have to read the water really well and to figure out when to turn and when to turn back down.
How hot of an angle do you like to sail, and what do you think about to try to figure that out?
It also depends on the waves, because if it's wavy out, I try and do more of an S-turning, and so that I play my angles with my S-turning. But if it's lighter, I try and go more by the lee, just because that gives me a faster angle to go by. So it really depends on the wind and the waves. But normally I just try, if I'm going to do hot angles, I either do a really hot reach with my S-turning or a really low by the lee. And I try and get the leech flapping for my by the lee angle.
What's really difficult in the laser is that you have to work your boat through every wave. What do you do, and how do you move your body, and what do you think about when you're actually sailing upwind in some waves?
It's a lot about torquing and body movement with your shoulders. You want to get up and over the waves so it's not just crashing down with the bow. And you want to use your main sheet and your rudder too. So it's just kind of like all one movement. And to get there, it's a lot of just practice on the water to get there. But right now it's just body memory for me, because I've done it so much that it's just easy for me to just do it than to think about it. It's just kind of like if I need to go over the wave, I know exactly what to do to get over that wave.
So when the wave is coming up and your bow starts to go up, you move your body aft? Is that how that works?
I push my tiller towards it, and then on the way down, I pull my boat back down, because when you're on the top of the wave, you're heeling, and you always want to keep the boat flat. So you kind of just use your body weight to do that with the tiller. And I use my body weight to keep the bow up with it, and then to flatten and keep my body out. So this is kind of like you're going at an angle back. So my legs are straight, but then my body is back.
Got it. The next thing I'd like to talk about, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your roll tacking technique.
So with my roll tacks, Luther Carpenter actually taught me how to do a correct roll tack. What I do is I start out is I push the tiller away from me, and I watch the front of my sail. And once it starts to luff and get to about 2 numbers down on my sail, then I really push the tiller away. While I do that, I pull my hiking strap and I really lean out with my shoulders to really pull that boat over on top of me. Then I make sure I let out the main sheet, probably about 1 to 2 feet. That's when I go under to make sure I get under with enough room. And I jump over onto the other side, and I really lean out with my shoulders again to flatten the boat. And then I quickly scoot in so that it doesn't overheel. And then I pull in my main sheet again.
Do you take one leg and have it over the top of the hiking strap before you start your roll tack?
It depends on the wind. In light wind, I don't. In more heavy wind where I need to hike right away, then I do, because then I already have 1 foot underneath, and that helps me flatten the boat a lot easier and hike faster. out of the tack.
Do you change hands on your tiller after you complete your roll tack? In other words, come out of the tack with your sheet sort of behind your back?
I do it when I stand up to go over to the other side. So halfway through my tack is when I switch hands. So when I flatten, I'm already ready and set to go.
Oh, great. This is interesting. I'm gonna have to try some of these things when I get back out in my laser. Another thing I wanted to talk about is when you're coming up to a bottom mark in the race and you're going to a lure gate, what do you think about in terms of strategy and about which side of the gate you're going to go with and things like that?
When I try and go downwind, I look at to see which the mark is ahead, and that's the mark I'm going to round. Or it determines on which mark is less crowded. Sometimes when you go around the mark with a lot of other boats, you're going to be pushed around, and you're not going to have a very good mark rounding. So it's sometimes easier to go to the less crowded mark than it is to go to the more crowded favored mark. It also depends on what phase of the wind is going to be in too. If it's going to be more towards the left, then I run around that mark to get over there. Or if it's more going to be the right, then I'm going to round the mark to get over there. It really depends on what phase and how the marks are looking.
Do you think about the crowded boats that are coming down the course behind you and try to get clean air as you're coming out too?
A little, but it's hard to do in a big fleet like that. I normally try and get away from the mark before I tack, just so I'm not tacking in all of those boats. But normally when you round the bottom mark like that, you want to just get away and find the lane that you want and just get out there.
Anyway, it's been great talking with you, Hannah, and I've really enjoyed chatting with you about this. I've certainly learned a lot. I'm going to take some of the things that we've talked about, try to put them into practice. This is Tom Burden for West Marine and Hanne Weaver, and we have over 80,000 products online, and we've got lots of great associates like Hannah who know a lot about sailing and about racing, who can help answer your questions. You can order from us 24/7 online from westmarine.com.